And to discuss more of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's successful defining visit to United States, we are being joined by Richard Rossow of Wadhwani Chair in the US-India Policy Studies, the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Mr. Rossow, trade has been a contentious issue between India and the United States, particularly during Donald Trump's first term. Now that Donald Trump has gone ahead with the reciprocal tariffs announcement, do you foresee a shift in trade dynamics? And how should India really navigate potential tariffs or market access challenges?
Well, I think that we saw when Prime Minister Modi was first elected almost 11 years ago, this push to try to create a stronger manufacturing ecosystem. A lot of that was some of the big reforms that India did, like the goods and services tax. But there were a lot of new trade protections that India introduced at that time. You saw regular customs duty increases. You saw local manufacturing mandates. More recently, the quality control orders that might be a trade limitation. So for President Trump, where the entire world is basically open for a trade fight, India presents a pretty big target because of some of the things that Prime Minister Modi has done during his time in office. So not surprising that India would be targeted, but the upside of what we see for the commercial relationship is obviously huge. And the fact that this year in the budget, India introduced a number of customs duty reductions in areas the United States had on our short list. So I think that kind of blunted maybe some of the criticism that we might have seen. But for the same day as the summit, for President Trump to announce that we're going to do this massive review of every country's trade duties against the United States and offer similar duties against, India was actually called out a couple times in that statement. I suspect that there's a lot more to come in terms of the downside, but at least the Leaders Summit itself had a lot of upside to it in terms of looking at an aspirational trade agreement, things like that.
Yes, under the Biden administration, initiatives like IPEF and Quad have been key in shaping India-US strategic ties. How do you think this return of Donald Trump will ensure India has engagements in multilateral settings, particularly in the Indo-Pacific?
Well, I would say, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, I don't think a lot of companies view that as really a market opener around the world, mostly focused on some soft ways to expand cooperation. But at the end of the day, companies need market access. They need lower customs duties. They need restrictions on foreign investment to be removed. And IPEF really didn't have a lot of that. So I don't think IPEF was considered to be as groundbreaking as some of the big initiatives before, like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There's two big, I think, multilateral initiatives that the United States and India are going to cooperate on. The Quad, it existed before President Trump, but he upgraded it. And I know you've already seen in President Trump, the Trump administration's first major foreign policy engagement was a foreign ministers meeting of the Quad. So I think that will remain. It has some commercial cooperation elements, although a little bit more of it is on strategic. But the second is IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Now that you've got relative stability in the Middle East with the war, at least at a pause, the opportunity to build cooperation across the region, infrastructure development, and improve trade flows is on the table. So a couple of big multilateral initiatives, I think, that are going to yield some fruit.
All right, Richard Rossow, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.